Heartwarming discovery exposes cheating wife. DNA tests reveal shocking truth and life-changing revelations. Tom stared at Sarah's phone, heart racing. The screen lit up with a flood of messages that shattered his world. Each buzz echoed unease in a life he thought was picture-perfect. Maplewood, with its friendly faces and buried secrets, whispered around him. He was a mechanic, sure, but today his tools felt heavier than any weight his hands had ever borne. The garage smelled of motor oil and nostalgia. It was his sanctuary and his prison, the place where he poured sweat and love for his family. But lately, he'd felt a distance from Sarah, a gap wide enough to drive a truck through. Her laughter, once genuine and infectious, now rung hollow, and in the quiet moments, he could hear the shadows creeping in. What happened to the couple who danced in their living room on Friday nights, chasing away the mundane? "Hey, Tom. Got some pie from Mrs. Henderson," called out Mike, his neighbor from next door, as he stepped into the garage, grinning ear to ear. "Thought you might enjoy a slice." It was moments like this that reminded him of the warmth of community, something his dad always said was key to survival. But that warmth felt cold against the storm roiling in his heart. Tom couldn't shake that flutter of dread crashing against hope. The texts were damning. He became a man on a mission, a father desperate for clarity. Love for little Emma and Jake surged within him. But doubt clawed at his mind. A DNA test couldn't just be a game anymore, he was teetering on the cliff of betrayal. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day he found the envelope felt like a clock ticking down to zero. It sat on the table, a summary of anguish and the unknown, but it felt more like a ticking bomb waiting to detonate. The prospect of uncovering the truth was overwhelming. Would he find answers in those little letters, or was he about to shatter the only world he'd ever known? When Sarah walked in, her face lit up as she noticed the pie, but when her eyes met Tom's, a chill settled between them. The air was thick with unspoken questions, each one basking in the glow of domestic life that felt increasingly fragile. "Tom, what's going on?" she asked, concern creeping into her voice, but he gripped the envelope tighter, resisting the urge to spill everything, a tempest brewing inside. And then it happened, in a whirl of fury and heartbreak, he found courage. He needed her truth now more than ever. What lay behind the love they built? Could it withstand the weight of secrets unveiled? Would the memories they crafted together spiral down as quickly as they began? In that moment, he realized love, as steadfast as it seemed, was sometimes the very thing that hung by a thread. The door of revelation cracked open, leaving Tom at the precipice, his emotions churning, wondering if they could emerge whole, or if this would unravel the very fabric of their family. Tom took a deep breath, the weight of the envelope heavy enough that it felt like a stone in his hand. The silence hung thick in the air, pierced only by the static of uncertainty. Sarah's eyes darted between the envelope and his face, searching for something, an explanation, a hint, a glimmer of hope amid the storm. "Tom, please. You're scaring me," she said, her voice trembling slightly. The warmth she usually brought to their conversation seemed to evaporate, leaving a chill that wrapped around him like ice. He didn't want to scare her. He wanted to protect her, to shield their family from whatever chaos lay inside that envelope. But how could he do that while also seeking the truth? The thought of Emma and Jake's innocence weighed heavily in his heart. They were the reason he fought so hard for the life they had built together. I need to know, Sarah," he managed to say, each word carefully measured, yet laced with desperation. "Know what?" "Know if you've been honest with me." The words broke free, slipping past his lips before he could rethink them. He watched as her expression shifted from concern to confusion, and finally to hurt. Is this about the texts? Tom, you know there's an explanation. I can explain. Her voice caught, and for a moment, he could see the anguish reflected back at him. Then tell me. Tell me the truth. The plea felt raw, clawing out of him. Do you love someone else? Is that why we feel so distant? Because I can't take another minute of this uncertainty. Sarah's face crumpled, and for a moment, it was like watching the remnants of their love shatter. No, Tom. There's no one else. I swear. Her voice broke, and tears glistened in her eyes. She stepped closer, reaching for him, but he instinctively took a step back. The last thing he wanted was to hurt her, but doubt anchored him in place. He turned towards the garage door, the dull hum of his surroundings fading into an echo. So much familiarity, the tools on their hooks, the old car they planned to fix together, the memories of laughter and joy. It now felt foreign and heavy. What do we do now? He asked, the weight of despair plunging deeper. Sarah took a moment, her breath shaky. I don't know. But we're a family, Tom. I love you. Please, let us talk through this. Talk through what? You need to understand that I'm holding something that could unravel everything we've built. He pointed to the envelope, her gaze following. Realization flashed in her eyes. The air chilled between them, thickening with the unsaid. Is it about the kids? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Tom's heart sank as he nodded, knowing the answer he sought carried an unbearable weight. Please, just open it. Each word was a fragile plea laden with fear and hope, a desperate attempt to reach what was left of their foundation. He turned, holding the envelope like it was the last piece of their life. Inside lay answers, but at what cost? What would the revelation bring, closure or catastrophe? As he tore at the edge, the tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks. Tom, whatever it says, we'll face it together. Please, she whispered. And in that moment, as the letters drifted to his fingertips, he realized that this one choice could ripple through their lives forever. What if the truth shattered everything he believed? The words hovered expectantly, as if challenging Tom to uncover not just secrets, but the very essence of love, loyalty, and what it meant to be a family. The envelope crinkled and ripped, the thin paper giving way to the heavy reality trapped inside. Tom felt the rush of adrenaline, the sinking dread, and the flicker of hope all at once. It was a swirl of emotions that left him momentarily paralyzed. With a glance at Sarah, he pulled out the papers, each one feeling like another stone dropped onto his chest. Her eyes stayed locked on his, pleading, as if she could somehow pull the truth from the air around him. He unfolded the first page and the words danced in front of him, an unsettling mix of legal jargon mixed with a few familiar names. Tom. Sarah whispered, her voice cracking the fragile silence as she took a cautious step forward. Tell me what it says. His heart raced as he scanned the details, his mind racing with possibilities. Questions flew through his head like confetti at a parade. Was this about Emma and Jake? Were they in trouble? He could feel the blood rushing in his ears. Sarah, he began, a lump forming in his throat, but he couldn't spit out the words. He flipped to the next page, the ink blurring slightly as his vision wavered. There it was, a name, one that sent his breath hitching painfully in his chest. Why is this here? He croaked, his voice almost lost in the whirlwind of his thoughts. What do you mean? She stepped even closer, her hands trembling slightly at her sides. What name? It took every ounce of courage he had to look up and meet her gaze. It's about paternity. The words spilled from his mouth, heavy and hard. Every syllable felt like a hammer pounding against the walls they had built around their family. Paternity tests. The truth about whether the children were truly theirs or if something darker lurked behind the facade of their perfect life. Sarah's face blanched, her breath catching in the depths of her chest. No. No. That can't be. She looked away as if she could somehow escape the reality they were facing. Tom's eyes filled with pain as he continued to read through the documents. The legalese mixed with expressions of doubt and the expectations they had for their children. A wave of anguish washed over him. This wasn't just paper, it was a lifeline or a noose around their collective neck. "Tom, we can fix this," she said, her voice shaky but infused with determination. "Whatever it is, it's not too late. We just need to talk through what?" He shot back, frustration boiling over. "How could we possibly talk through a lie that challenges everything we've built? Did you think I wouldn't want to know? Did you think I would just turn a blind eye?" Tears began to brim in Sarah's eyes again as she took a step back, the sting of his words cutting deeper than he intended. "Please let me explain," she pleaded, her voice cracking. Tom felt a swell of guilt. It wasn't just the information he held that was causing this rift, but the fear of losing everything they'd ever known. "Sarah," he started, but the words caught in his throat. What could he say that could bring comfort? All he was left with was the uncertainty of the future stretched out before them like a vast, uncharted ocean. In that heart-stopping moment, he wished he could rewind time, to erase the decisions leading them to this brink. But he was here now, on the edge of a chasm threatening to swallow them whole. He had to know. "What did you not tell me? Did you doubt our family?" Her expression faltered, and for a split second, the truth that hung between them felt like a palpable weight, unspoken but demanding release. "Tom, she started, but the uncertainty in her voice cut through the air sharper than any accusation could. The afternoon sun flickered in through the garage window, casting shadows around them, both enveloping and suffocating. And as Tom stood there, the envelope crinkled in his grip, he realized that opening that door could either lead to redemption or destruction. What if the next words he heard tore their world apart? Instinctively, he held the papers tighter, ready to uncover a truth more complex than he ever imagined. Tom's breathing echoed in the silence, the weight of the moment pressing against him like a vice. He felt a creeping chill crawl down his spine as he waited for Sarah's response. The sterile scent of the garage mixed with the smell of gasoline, each inhalation heavy like a cloud hanging overhead. "Tom, I swear, you have to believe me." Her voice trembled, filled with desperation that twisted his gut. "I never meant for any of this to happen. I thought it was all behind us." Behind them? What did she mean? Every flicker of her gaze seemed to pull him deeper into a pit of uncertainty. "I don't understand," he whispered, wishing for clarity amidst the fog of betrayal. "What do you mean, behind us?" She took a step closer, her hands now clasped tightly in front of her, like a shield against the storm brewing between them. "Before we started our family, before we met. There were things, past relationships that I never shared." He saw the regret etched on her face, the expression vacillating between sorrow and fear. Each second felt like an eternity as he craved the comfort of their past. His heart hurt for the girl he fell in love with, the woman who made him laugh, the mother of their children. "I thought we were past the mistakes," he said, his voice barely above a murmur. "Are you saying this isn't even about us?" She nodded slightly, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "It's complicated. I've been scared to tell you because I thought you would leave if you knew the truth. It's all convoluted, Tom. I wanted to protect our family." Fury and confusion warred inside him. Protect it? He shot back, anger spilling over. From what? Lies? Secrets? "From my past," she pressed, her hands shaking as if she could steady the words spilling from her lips. "I had a relationship before you with someone who could be the father. But I never linked it to now. Never thought this would come up." Tom's mind raced. So much for the image of family he had held on to. His eyes drifted back to the papers in his hand. Would the truth hidden in those pages tear them apart? Would it reduce their children to uncertainties in a world where his love felt fragile and misplaced? "Why didn't you trust me?" he breathed, trying to mask the hurt threatening to overflow. "Because, Tom, I didn't want to lose what we built. I thought I had made it right." I thought as long as I kept my past behind me, we could have a future. But now, her voice broke, the weight of it spiraling them further into despair. The silence returned, thick and suffocating. He could see the glimmer of fear in her eyes morphing into shame, and in that moment, something shifted within him. They were standing on the edge of their emotional cliff, and he could either take a step back or plunge into the unknown. His heart pounded as he contemplated his next move. Could he forgive her? Could he confront the reality of their lives, the one that now depended on the outcome of a simple DNA test? "Tom, please," she breathed, edging closer again, tears falling freely down her cheeks. He clenched the envelope tightly, the papers crumpling under his grip, feeling the heat of this moment pulse between them. It wrapped around him, squeezing, igniting a flicker of hope within the turmoil. But a flicker wasn't enough. He needed to know what came next. What if the tests say what I fear? What if it isn't ours? The words lingered in the space between them, heavy and uncertain. Tom met her gaze again, desperate for answers but only confronting a landscape of fears that remained unchecked. And just then, the door creaked open behind them. The sound sliced through their tension, each of them jolting slightly at the interruption. A familiar voice called out, bright and innocent. "Mom! Dad! We're home!" Emma and Jake's cheerful faces appeared in the doorway, blissfully unaware of the storm raging between their parents. Tom felt a wave of guilt crash over him. The weight of the envelope reminded him of the iron grip of secrets and shame. He wished for strength, for a way to shield his children from the tremors shaking their family's foundation. But how could he promise that when he didn't even know which path to take next? Sarah's voice returned, softer, full of hopeful urgency. "We have to face this. Together." But could they face it if the foundation had cracks spreading deeper than they thought? Silence hung in the air once more, heavy with impending decisions. Tom felt the world around him blur, everything fading except the one word echoing in his head, together. As their children bounded into the laundry room, laughter ringing like a distant chime, he realized the moment had come to decide. For the sake of love, for the sake of family, what would he be willing to fight for? Tom forced a smile as Emma and Jake rushed into the garage, the sound of their joy like sunlight breaking through dark clouds. He wanted nothing more than to envelop them in a hug, to dull the weight of uncertainty that now sat heavily on his chest. The laughter felt like a tune playing in the background of a scene that was rapidly shifting for him and Sarah, leaving them stranded in dissonance. "Look what we found!" Emma exclaimed, her arms full of art supplies from a weekend craft fair. Jake followed, his little hands clutching a bunch of brightly colored beads, eyes glinting with excitement. "Can we make something cool?" Tom glanced at Sarah. Her eyes were soft, mirroring the warmth their kids brought. For a moment, he wished he could rewind time to a simpler moment. He realized how desperately he wanted their family to be the picture-perfect image he once held dear. But now, everything felt tinged with the understanding that the foundation beneath their happiness was about to be tested. "Of course. What do you want to make?" he asked, kneeling to their level, the weight of the envelope still clutched in his hand, a reminder that the past had a knack for rearing its head when it was least welcome. "Something for the fridge," Emma declared, her eyes sparkling. "How about a family portrait?" Tom chuckled, but the thought brought a lump to his throat. A family portrait. He looked at Sarah, who was already gazing at the kids with a soft adoration in her eyes. What would it look like if pulled apart by truths they couldn't control? "Yeah, definitely." Jake chimed in, clearly pumped about the idea. "I'll draw myself with superpowers." "Superpowers for everyone," Emma chimed back, giggling. Sarah crouched down beside them, though he noticed her fingers twitching slightly towards the envelope, a ghost of anxiety crossing her features. Her attempt to join in the fun sank deeper into his heart, charging him with a bittersweet realization, they were all teetering on the edge of a misunderstanding that might shatter their unity. Tom managed to pull himself back from the brink, embracing the moment. He grabbed a piece of colored construction paper and handed it to Emma. "Let us start, shall we?" As they sketched their stick figures, he couldn't help but steal glances at Sarah. She was smiling, but the shadows under her eyes spoke of worry. Did she think this crafting session could make everything okay? He wanted to believe that, too. While the children bubbled over with ideas, Tom felt the art supplies turn to leaden weights in his hands. His thoughts danced between the familial warmth and the icy grip of fear about the truth lurking behind that envelope. Visions of moments lost to doubt swirled in his mind. "Tom." Sarah's voice pulled him back, her questioning gaze inviting him to share the burden. "What are you thinking? Honestly?" He hesitated, wrestling with the vulnerability that came with a simple honesty. "I'm worried." Her expression softened as their children were busy arguing over the best colors to use. "I am too. But we have to believe that love can get us through this." The air thickened like smoke as he met her eyes. "How do we trust each other again if the truth does change everything?" "By facing it together," she whispered. Their children discovered a treasure trove of stickers and started slapping them on the paper, laughter erupting from every corner. It tugged at Tom's heart, creating a flicker of hope within the whirlwind of uncertainty. "Where do you see us?" he asked, his voice low but firm, the question hanging between them as charged as ever. "I see us as a family, fighting to stay together. But we need to confront our pasts to secure our future," she replied, a small, resolute smile slowly creeping across her face, though the fear never fully left her eyes. He took a breath, letting the heaviness settle in his chest. Could there really still be hope, even among the shadows of doubt? As he watched the kids giggle over an assortment of colors, the idea began to take root. "Then together we will face whatever comes next," he murmured, sealing a bond that yearned to hold on despite the frailty of their reality. But just as a sense of calm washed over him, the stillness shattered when the doorbell rang, startling everyone. Tom's heart dropped. Who could that be? As he exchanged a glance with Sarah, an unwelcome feeling coursed through him. Could this be the moment that changed everything? Together, he whispered more to himself than to her, knowing the truth was just a door away. Tom's pulse quickened as the doorbell echoed in the garage. The kids paused, looking up with curious faces. He could feel the tension stretch between him and Sarah like a tightrope ready to snap. She shifted slightly, her earlier bravado flickering like a candle in the wind. "Stay here," he said, heart thumping. He took a step toward the door, the envelope still grasped tightly in his hand. Each footfall felt heavier than the last, as if he were walking toward a stage where the truth would be illuminated before them all. He pulled the door open, half expecting to see a delivery person or an old neighbor. Instead, he found a stranger, a tall man with an intense gaze and an air of urgency that felt out of place among the colors and laughter of their garage. "Tom?" the man asked, his voice low and serious. "Yeah." Tom replied, glancing back at Sarah, who was now standing just behind the children, worry etched across her face. "I need to talk to you about Sarah." The man's words hung heavy in the air, thick with an implication Tom couldn't yet grasp. "What about Sarah?" Tom replied, his voice sharper than intended. The man hesitated, searching Tom's face. I'm a private investigator. I've been looking into some matters regarding her past." Tom felt the world around him tilt, the laughter of Emma and Jake fading into silence. "What do you mean? What is going on?" His mind raced, trying to latch onto something solid in this confusing reality that was beginning to feel like a nightmare. "I think we need to discuss this away from the kids," the man said, lowering his voice. At that moment, Sarah stepped forward, her hand resting against the garage wall for support. "Who are you?" she asked, eyes narrowing in disbelief. "I'm here because," the man began, but Tom could barely hear over the pounding in his ears. He was engulfed by a sense of betrayal, dread creeping into his stomach. He had held back his own fears, tried to defend the fortress of their family, but this man's presence threatened to breach its walls. Just tell us what you know, Sarah commanded, her voice steadier than Tom felt. The investigator's eyes flickered between Tom and Sarah. I've come across some information, and it might be serious. Sarah, are you aware that? But the words didn't matter. Everything started spinning. Tom's heart raced as old fears clawed their way back to the surface. The laughter, the art supplies, the family portrait all felt like a cruel mirage. Just get to the point. Tom barked, a mix of anger and panic rising in him. Sarah is not who you think she is, the man began, but before he could finish, Jake tugged on Tom's shirt. Dad? Is everything okay? His innocent question shattered Tom's resolve. He turned back to his kids, the chaos swirling in his mind dissipating only enough to take in the sight of Emma's freckled cheeks and Jake's worried brow. The image struck him like lightning, the pure joy of their children juxtaposed against the crushing weight of the unknown. Everything's fine, buddy. Just a misunderstanding, Tom said, though the words felt hollow. No, it's not, Sarah interjected, her voice trembling slightly. She stood tall but vulnerable. Tom, we need to hear this. All of us. The man shifted uncomfortably, clearly unprepared for this audience. It's about your past, Sarah. You might want to sit down. Everyone held their breath, the air thick with unspoken worries. Would they emerge from this together, or would this moment unravel the threads of their seemingly perfect family? A primal instinct gripped Tom. He couldn't let fear dictate their fate. They needed to face whatever this was, together. But just when he thought he could muster courage, Sarah's hand trembled against his, pulling him back into the storm of uncertainty. As Sarah stared into Tom's eyes, a flicker of fear and hope tangled in the air. Would this lead to a breakthrough in their marriage or an irreversible fracture? He felt that old envelope weigh ever heavier. They braced themselves, knowing the truth was about to be laid bare. Would they emerge from this intact, or would they enter a darkness that would change everything they knew? Let us hear it, Tom breathed, steeling himself for the words that would echo long after they were spoken. The investigator took a deep breath, steeling himself for what he was about to say, but the moment felt suspended in time. Tom gripped the envelope tighter, each crease digging into his palm, a physical reminder of the weight of this encounter. Sarah, the man began, his voice steady but strained. What I found suggests that there is a chance your identity it may not be what you think it is. What are you saying? Sarah's voice cracked, her brows furrowing in confusion. The assurance she normally wore like armor began to falter. The stranger's hands shifted nervously, his posture rigid. I looked into your history, from before you moved here. There are discrepancies, records that don't match. He turned to Tom, gesturing for both of them to listen. I think you might have been living under a different name. A different life. Shock splintered through the garage, fracturing the comfortable routine they had built together. The kids were now silent, half hidden behind their parents, their wide eyes absorbing the tension. Tom felt time slow as the pieces of Sarah's life began to rearrange in his mind, each shard reflecting his own fears back at him. Why? Why would you be hiding something like this? Tom struggled to keep his voice neutral, pushing against the wave of anger bubbling within him. I didn't know, Sarah replied, stepping back slightly as if the very words were pushing her away from them. I thought I had left it all behind. I thought I was safe. The shine of her tears glimmered in her eyes, mirroring reflections of hurt and confusion. Safe from what? Tom's voice was barely above a whisper, his heart racing, each beat echoing the weight of unanswered questions trapping him in a loop of disbelief. From someone, Sarah said, her hands trembling as she clutched the wall, her breath hitching as if the memory threatened to consume her. Someone from my past. Someone who might still be looking for me. Jake's tiny hand sought out Tom's leg, gripping it tightly, while Emma leaned closer to him, the innocence in their eyes piercing through the thick tension. They were just kids, unaware of the tidal wave that was crashing down on their family. Do you know who it is? Tom's voice barely came out, edged with a deep sense of dread. They had built a life together, but how could they move forward if Sarah's foundation was made of lies? I never thought. She swayed slightly, her world rocking with every word. I thought leaving would be enough. That I could have a normal life, a normal family. But this, she choked on the words, the anguish etched on her face unraveling his heart. What did you expect? Did you think the past wouldn't come back to haunt you? Tom felt harsher than intended, the words tearing at the frayed fabric of their trust. Tom, please. I was scared. I didn't want you to know. I didn't want to ruin what we had. I love you. Sarah's voice was a beacon of desperation, pleading for understanding even as the storm raged around them. In that moment, the door to the garage was still open, and a gust of wind rushed through, carrying with it the scent of the trees, innocence, and fleeting joy. But for Tom, it felt more like a relentless reminder of everything that could be lost. As the kids' small voices whispered among themselves, their confusion and innocence surrounded the adults like a fragile bubble. They had each other, but what would remain after this truth? Do you want to know more? The investigator's voice cut through the emotions like a knife. I can help. I can guide you through this. Tom's chest felt tight, caught between a protective instinct for his family and the looming shadow of uncertainty that flickered like a flame. Would learning the truth bring healing or open a wound that could never heal? Sarah's eyes implored him, her fear matching his own. Nothing could change the past, but it could redefine their future. Let us hear whatever you found, Tom finally said, feeling the weight of their lives shift yet again, a single thread unraveling from their carefully woven tapestry. He swallowed hard as the investigator began to speak again, bracing for the impact of every word. What truth would emerge from the shadows of Sarah's past, and would it be too much to bear? The investigator shifted his weight, clearing his throat. The record suggests that you were once connected to a name that isn't Sarah, he said, watching their expressions closely. Before moving here, you lived in a different state. There was an incident, something serious that led you to change your identity. Tom's heart dropped. What kind of incident? His voice was heavy, laced with a mix of fear and curiosity. Not just any incident, the investigator replied slowly, pulling a folder from his bag. There was an escape from a situation that involved violence, a protective order against someone. Someone who was part of your life back then. Sarah's face paled. I thought I was just running from a bad relationship. I didn't know it was serious enough to warrant a protective order. Her voice trembled, each word like a small piece of glass that could cut deep. The investigator continued, ignoring the emotional cyclone swirling in the small garage. Your old name connects to a police report. It involves domestic violence. The person you were with, he was dangerous. He was apprehended after you disappeared. Questions hung in the air, thick and heavy. Tom felt his pulse quicken. What had she fled from? Who was this man? Is he still out there? Sarah looked at Tom, fear rippling through her. If you found this, she whispered, then he might too. What if he's looking for me? Tom's heart raced, panic rising in his throat. The notion of someone from Sarah's past threatening their family sent him spiraling into a mixture of protectiveness and dread. We've got to ensure you're safe. We can't let him near us. And what about the kids? Sarah's voice was pleading. What if he tries to come for them, too? The investigator took a calming breath, trying to steady the surging emotions. The best way to ensure safety is to confront it head-on. We can file for a new protective order, and I can help you with that. You need to know what you're dealing with. Tom's thoughts raced. Could they really go down this rabbit hole? The life they knew, the perfectly normal family routine, was about to be dismantled. One loose thread could unravel everything, tearing apart the sanctuary they had built. As Sarah's face darkened with worry, Tom realized that her fear wasn't only for herself, it was for them. The kids were still watching, their innocent eyes wide with confusion and fear that slowly seeped into the cotton candy world they de-spun together. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" Tom's words came out sharper than he intended, a mix of hurt and bewilderment weighing heavily on his heart. "I wanted to protect you." Sarah's voice cracked, a flood of tears finally spilling down her cheeks. "I thought if I hid it long enough, it wouldn't matter, but I never wanted you and the kids to get tangled in my crazy life. Look, we can face this together." Tom softened, trying to draw her back in. "But you need to let me in. I can't protect you if I don't know everything." Emma and Jake, still clutching each other, sensed the tension wrapped around their parents like a stormy cloud. The innocence of their everyday lives began to fray. With a gentle, trembling hand, Sarah wiped her tears. "I thought I left it behind." "Maybe we can find a way to leave it behind again," Tom replied, yet uncertainty gnawed at him. Would facing Sarah's past push them further away? The investigator glanced between them. "Healing starts with the truth. But, there's one more thing." "What?" Tom felt dread coil in the pit of his stomach. "There's a file with details about the person who sought the protective order. You need to know what he looks like. You need to know he might still be searching for you." As the investigator pulled out a photograph from the folder, time seemed to freeze. Tom held his breath, heart hammering in his chest. What would they see? What truth awaited just beyond the edges of the picture? The moment felt loaded, every second stretching like a taut wire ready to snap. What awaited them in that image? The investigator turned the photograph toward them. Tom couldn't focus on the face staring back. The world around him seemed muted, a dull echo as panic swept over him. He swallowed hard, feeling the knot in his stomach tighten. Sarah's breath quickened beside him, a mirrored reflection of his own fear. "Here it is," the investigator said gently, revealing a grainy image that bore a man's face, hardened and familiar in a way that sent shivers racing down Tom's spine. It was like staring into the shadow of an unending nightmare. The corners of the investigator's mouth tightened as he spoke. "This man is Jason Bennett. He is your ex, Sarah, and he has a history of violence." As soon as the name left the investigator's lips, a wave of recognition washed over Sarah. Her entire demeanor shifted, as if recalling a distant storm cloud she had tried to bury along with her past. "Jason," she whispered, her voice trembling as she smoothed her hair back. "I thought he was in prison. I thought he would never find me." Tom felt ice trickle down his spine. "Sarah, do you mean to tell me he has been released? This is beyond serious." He reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly. "We need to do something. Right now." "In a way, he has done his time, but that doesn't stop him from wanting what he lost," the investigator said quietly. "When someone like that has suffered a loss, they can become desperate. It's not about staying within the law anymore." All Tom could think about were the children. Emma and Jake still stood frozen, their small hands gripping each other tightly, fear painted prominently on their faces. What is that man capable of? Tom's voice was a low growl, controlled but laced with anger. He could feel a protective fury bubbling inside him, ready to explode. "Whether or not he knows who you are now, there's always a chance he'll start looking. He'll want to track you down," the investigator warned. "That's why we must act immediately." Sarah covered her mouth, struggling to hold back tears. "I thought running away would shield us. I thought changing my name was enough. But what if he finds us? Then we stand together," Tom said firmly. He refused to let fear dictate their lives. He wouldn't stand by and watch as a specter from the past threatened everything they had built. "We file that protective order and take every step necessary to keep our family safe." Slowly, she nodded, determination replacing some of the fear in her eyes. I can't shake this feeling that I should have done something different," Sarah murmured, guilt hovering in her voice like a lingering fog. "Don't go there right now. Focus on what's ahead." He pulled her close, his arms wrapping tightly around her. There was comfort in solidarity, but it was underlined by the overwhelming challenge that lay ahead. "Dad." Emma finally spoke, her voice small and shaky. "Is that bad man going to come find us?" Tom knelt in front of them, desperate to shield the innocence of his children. "I promise, Emma. We're going to fight this together. No one is going to hurt you." The investigator cleared his throat, breaking the fragile moment. "It's time to take the next steps. We need to report this and file that new protective order. Knowing he might be out there could change everything." As Tom and Sarah prepared themselves for the process ahead, they felt the weight of the moment pressing down heavily. Questions hung thickly, weaving through the air like a haunting melody. Would their lives ever return to normal? Just a few short hours ago, they were laughing together, enjoying a slice of pizza and a movie night. Now, hovering around them was an impending storm that threatened to destroy their peace. Tom clenched his fists, glancing once more at the photo of Jason. "We'll do whatever it takes," he said resolutely. "I won't let you face this alone." But little did they know, as they prepared to confront this darkness, Jason had plans of his own, ones that would send shockwaves through their lives in ways they couldn't even imagine. As the door of their sanctuary closed behind them, uncertainty loomed large. What would tomorrow bring? Would they be ready for the truth that could finally set them free or push them deep into darkness? The sun dipped low, casting a warm orange hue over Maplewood, but the warmth felt distant inside the garage as Tom, Sarah, and the kids gathered themselves. The air hummed with palpable tension, threats lingering just beyond their doorstep. Tom held Sarah's hand firmly, determination coursing through him. They were stepping into the unknown, but together, they had the strength to face whatever came next. "Okay, let us do this," Tom said, his voice steady, though his heart raced. They exchanged glances, fear, hope, and love intertwined in their eyes. The investigator led them to his car, where documents and resources lay waiting. The drive felt surreal, a stark contrast to the laughter of their children just moments prior. Tom glanced at Emma and Jake in the back seat, their innocent excitement fading into a confusion dotted with unspoken terror. "Mom, is that man really bad?" Emma asked, her small voice breaking through Tom's thoughts. Sarah turned to her, her heart aching. "He is someone from my past, honey. We're not going to let him get near us. I promise." The sincerity in her tone offered a fragile assurance, pulling the children and Tom closer to a semblance of safety. When they arrived at the local courthouse, the familiar hum of life bustling around them felt strangely juxtaposed to their charged emotions. Tom led the way, pushing through the double doors as adrenaline surged within. As they took a place in line, he could see shadows of their lives unpacking as if each step forward held the potential for healing or haunting. "Tom, let us take a moment." Sarah's voice pulled him back. She leaned closer, her face soft, though still marred by past pain. "No matter what happens, I need you to know how much I love you and the kids. I'm so grateful you're here with me." Tom felt emotion form a knot in his throat. "We'll make it through this, Sarah. Together." They shared a silent moment, drawing strength from each other before the fears of the world engulfed them again. As they completed the paperwork, Tom noticed how eerily quiet the courthouse felt. The weight of uncertainty hung heavy in the air, but his resolve strengthened. He would not allow the specter of Sarah's past to grip their family. Finally, all steps concluded, and they walked outside into the warm light of the day. He could feel the burden lifting, even just a little. The protective order was a first step in assurance that they would not stand alone against Jason. "Can we get ice cream?" Jake chirped, breaking through the seriousness of the moment. Tom chuckled, the sound surprising him. "Ice cream sounds like a perfect idea. How about we all go?" Sarah smiled, a light spark flaring in her eyes. "That sounds wonderful," she replied, straightening her shoulders, the worry easing ever so slightly. They piled into the car once more, laughter slowly rising as Jake animatedly talked about his favorite flavors. But as the day wore on, Tom's mind never strayed far from the looming shadows. The pain of betrayal, the sensation of being the last to know, it was a bitter aftertaste he couldn't shake. Yet, the children's laughter stirred something in him, a flicker of hope. Perhaps they could carve a new reality, rebuilding stronger from the ashes of secrets. That night, after the kids were tucked in, Tom and Sarah sank onto the couch together, the weight of the world pressing on their shoulders. Quiet settled between them, the only sound the soft hum of the refrigerator in the background. "Do you think we'll be okay? Like, really okay?" Sarah voiced the question they both grappled with. Tom turned to her, searching her eyes. "We will be," he replied firmly, the conviction evident in his voice. "We've got to communicate. No more secrets. Let us face everything together. The kids deserve that, and so do we." Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes, yet for the first time, he sensed a shift away from despair toward hope. "Thank you for not giving up on me, on us. I won't hide again." Her vow resonated with the deep sincerity of someone who had finally broken free from secrets. "We're in this together, Sarah." "I'm not going anywhere," Tom promised, the weight of his love holding steady. They moved closer, their fingers interlocking as they found solace in a new promise, a promise built on foundations that no past could erode. As they nestled together, the shadows outside began to dim. The darkness of fear and uncertainty melted away, their laughter echoed softly off the walls, and out of that silence emerged a radiant light. Life was uncertain. Jason's shadow lingered in the background, waiting for the moment of weakness, but they had forged a bond strong enough to withstand anything. Whatever darkness lay ahead, Tom and Sarah knew they had transformed. In that moment, the real victory was not just the protective order or facing the past, it was redefining their future, rebuilding their lives on honesty, with love, and the unyielding spirit of family. It was time to fight for their kids, for their love, and for a future free from shadows. Together. Now, as you finish this story, hold on to the spirit of family and love. Join us on this journey. You need to subscribe now to never miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like to support the channel, it truly makes a difference. Comment your thoughts on this intense ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. This is the moment to show your support.